after show.
I still haven't found a sound effect for Cloak.
They really need to put one in the comics so that we have something to insert here for the audio.
Well, at least you're on YouTube now, so you can see me in my Jedi robe pretending that I'm Cloak.
That's right.
Doing all kinds of things.
It would be really cool to have a cloak that actually has the lines on it in the sort of dark blue, like that.
Cloak has one.
Yeah, I know. And he just found it lying around. Why can't we find stuff like that lying around?
I don't know. Well, it's a good thing we didn't find synthetic heroin lying around.
That's true.
That didn't end up so well for them.
Either it kills you or it gives you superpowers. Are you willing to take the chance?
Well, we're not here to talk about that today, although we are talking about Cloak and Dagger, which if you haven't listened to our episode... Why are you here? Go listen to our episode about Cloak and Dagger, listen to that, and then come back here so that you can hear us talk about Dennis Hopeless and David Messina, and I guess more things Cloak and Dagger.
Sure.
So make sure you hit subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our after shows or bonus content or anything that we do. Mm-hmm. We're actually up on a couple subscribers lately. I think we're up to 37. So.
Oh, nice. Welcome.
Hey, welcome more subscribers. Tell your friends and make them subscribe too. So.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, don't ask them, make them.
No, make them. Push it. This discussion is all about pushing things on people.
That's right.
Whether it be synthetic heroin or it be... what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, brain fog guy. See, I got brain fog and couldn't remember brain fog.
Gray matter.
Gray matter. Trademark. Copyright.
We're just going to start calling him gray matter. It's better.
We are. Well, just like gray.
Gray.
Well, and again, it's kind of on the nose because it's like you have the dark... force, the light force, and then at least you didn't call it the gray force because that would have been at least you didn't call it 50 Shades of Gray Force because that would have been even worse.
I once imagined that there are beige lanterns out there in the DC universe, and their rings are powered by laziness, and I think I'm a beige lantern actually. So you have great laziness in your heart.
Here, wear this ring and don't do anything.
Right.
Keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't actually have any powers.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. Well, anyway, let's talk about Dennis Hopeless, or Dennis Hallam, or more recently known as Dennis Hopeless Hallam. He is an American comic book writer from Kansas City, Missouri, who has written for Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, Boom Studios, Arcana Studio, and Oni Press.
And more.
Find us on YouTube. Oh, wait, no, that's our intro. Whoops, I got brain fog.
It sounded like it, though.
It did. So Dennis worked in a comic store in the mid-2000s while he was trying to break into the comics industry. Does that make him the youngest writer we've ever reviewed?
Nah.
I think most people got their start in the 80s or 90s that we've reviewed.
Maybe. I mean, there are people that have started later, but they're still older. Yeah. So, yeah.
I don't think he is, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, using the pen name Dennis Hopeless, he created Gearhead with penciler Kevin... I don't think it's Mellon. It's like Melone or
Kevin Malone.
Yeah, exactly. In 2007. So it took him a little while to break into the comics industry. This was published by Arcana Studio. It was a 4-issue comic about a female auto mechanic searching for her lost brother. So he kind of did, a lot of works for a couple years until landing a job with Marvel in 2011, writing the second volume of Legion of Monsters with penciler Juan Doe, not John Doe, but Juan Doe. The series starred the titular Legion and monster hunter Elsa Bloodstone, who you may recall from the MCU movie Werewolf by Night, also from, comics. She was there first, but kind of just more in the public spotlight, I think, from that direct-to-streaming movie. So,
Dude, why do I love that pocket of Marvel so much? It's like no, but like the Werewolf by Night and the Cloak and Dagger and the characters that are just kind of on the fringes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about those characters, but I really enjoy getting into them. So
yeah. Well, so did Dennis Hopeless. From there, he worked also on X-Men, Avengers, Cable and X-Force, Captain America, Spider-Woman, Darth Vader, and of course Spider-Man and more. Yes, he wrote something for Marvel, Darth Vader, that was in the last, I think, well, it would have been in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Marvel, but pretty recent. So he says that he tends to write about the challenge of growing up, and he has been praised by critics for including a female point of view in his comics. So something that he is able to do, I think, quite well. And you can really see that in Cloak and Dagger and in the Spider-Woman run that he wrote as well.
Sure.
So I have an interview here from Marvel.com when the first issue of Cloak and Dagger that we reviewed went on sale, where he kind of talks about it. So let's see. Cloak and Dagger sort of splits the difference between writing a solo character and writing a team. When you're writing about a single hero, you can tell the story from inside their head. There's one point of view, and that perspective drives the story. Team books are often more of an ensemble. The spotlight moves around and the team dynamic is a bigger part of the story than any single point of view. And it was kind of cool because like with the two characters being sort of split up, he was kind of able to tell that solo character point of view just on different parts of the pages and then, bring them together later. So it was kind of an interesting way to, break up the ensemble and be able to tell things from their perspective without them overlapping at first. He goes on to say, or he went on to say, because this is an old interview, with Cloak and Dagger, we're telling the story from two very different perspectives at the same time. Tyrone and Tandy are fundamentally intertwined characters, like you say, but they see the world through different lenses. It's been a lot of fun playing with that shifting perspective. We let the reader into each of their heads, sometimes even showing the same scene from two different angles. Just like in life, it's the differences that propel the drama. And I think that was one of my favorite parts about this comic. Being able to see the same scene from two different angles, and the first angle making you think one thing, and then seeing the second angle and being like, oh, it actually was this way.
Yeah, particularly with Cloak's perspective on what was going on with Gray, seeing him be like, no, like, we didn't just randomly teleport him, like, he was attacking you. That whole thing. Yeah, the different perspectives and the internal narration was probably my favorite part of the story. So he was definitely successful at implementing that. So like I said earlier, I don't want to be like it was written poorly or anything like that. Like my gripes were more that it just didn't take previous characterization into account as much as I would have liked, I think, and that's kind of what bumped it down for me.
All right, well, I'm gonna cloak out of here while you talk about the penciler.
Oh yeah. So well, I guess you don't have to hear this because you're in the dark dimension. David Messina is an Italian comic book artist from Rome, Italy. He graduated from the School of International Comics in Rome, or the Scuola Internazionale di Comics. And I probably did not say that correctly because I'm not Italian.
Moving on.
And since 2002 has split his time between working in the comic book industry and teaching courses at his alma mater.
Nice.
So yeah, he still teaches sequential art and those kind of things. Originally, he used his degree to work as a storyboard artist and character designer for the animation industry, and he's also held various graphic design positions before becoming a full-time comic book penciler. And so he's actually worked on several comic expansions of the Buffyverse, but instead of the main Buffy title, like what we reviewed a couple episodes ago, he's penciled several stories in the Angel series. Okay. So he's also the penciler responsible for IDW's Star Trek Countdown and a book that I didn't know existed, Star Trek Nero, which are both prequels to the 2009 Kelvin timeline Star Trek movie. So pretty cool that I just looked over at your shelf and I was like, oh, Joe legit has one of the books that Messina penciled already. So
that was a nice kind of prequel into the movies too.
Yeah,
a little bit more backstory that they didn't really tell you, because Geordi designs that starfish thing, and it was a fun comic.
Yeah, they tied it into the Prime universe a little bit better than what that movie does. So it was kind of a neat thing. So besides his work at IDW and Dark Horse, he's also worked for Marvel, which we know, and produced erotic comics for Spanish, French, and Italian publications. So yeah, that's another side of his career.
So he may be skilled at drawing the female form, and maybe that kind of explains his outfit a little bit?
I don't know. Well, Tandy's outfit was more conservative and more like reined in and covered up than what it classically is. So yeah, I don't know. He actually self-describes himself as a comic book artist, teacher, and chocolate-addicted owner of an evil kitten. That's what it says on his Instagram bio.
Interesting.
So those are his, those are his identifying qualities. And I found a short snippet of an interview with Dennis Hopeless, where he described Messina's style as big, bombastic, and superheroic, stating that Messina's art brings some light and life to the dark world of Cloak and Dagger. So my own impression of it, which I did discuss in the episode as well, is that it's very animation friendly. They're kind of pared down designs that simplify in order to make it easier to do dynamic shots with them. And so while I said that wasn't necessarily to my specific taste, I hope that it didn't impact my review of it like too much. It just wasn't what I was looking for in their series. I also would have preferred maybe that they had it a little bit darker lit. There were a couple times when they would just be like on a beach or something, and it's just like everything's bright and vibrant, and I'm like, that's not what I expect to see in a Cloak and Dagger comic, which you don't have to have it be all dark and gritty all the time, but just all the stuff with the gray and everything, it was very like inconsistent color-wise with that, so it was a little bit distracting to me, but yeah, not really a big deal. But of Cloak and Dagger, Messina said that he has always loved them, possibly because he's such a big fan of the original artist for the miniseries, that is, Rick Leonardi. So he was kind of like hyped to get this project whenever it was assigned to him in the first place. So yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say about the characters? I mean, I've always kind of liked them. I just haven't. I want to get more of the omnibuses to continue reading some of their older stuff and sort of catch myself up to this point, because it really does feel like, okay, well, Tandy and Tyrone have broken up, but like, how did they get to this point? And like, what have they been through since then? And I didn't know anything about Spider Island, so
I kind of wonder what keeps them from being more mainstream characters and like actually being on the Avengers, and if it's just that they're kind of more like the street level.
They are.
But even Spider-Man, who's more street level, gets roped into doing all kinds of things, and that may just be a popularity thing. Mm-hmm. You know, because anytime you have a character who's gaining popularity, or you want to make them popular, you add them to something that's already popular,
right?
And so then they just kind of indirectly benefit from that. But it doesn't seem like Cloak and Dagger are quite at that level, but they're also not at that level where they just show up here and there in a couple cameos. They have quite a good, substantial history. So
it kind of feels like Hawkman, right? Where it's like Hawkman is a character that we have to do the
don't ask why, just do it.
It kind of feels like him, where it's like DC knows that they have a core set of fans that they can sell to with Hawkman, but they also know that it's not going to be like a top seller like Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman. So it's always like whenever you get a title, you're like, oh, thank goodness, I've got another Hawkman title, and you kind of read it, but you're always looking over your shoulder like, are they going to cancel it? When is it going to be over? and like the run that we reviewed for that was actually one of the longer continuous runs. I think Hawkworld in the 90s was much longer, but he's one of those characters where like there are people that are fans of him and they bring him out every once in a while, but it seems like he never quite breaks into like the mainstream like some of the heavy hitters. So that's kind of how I view Cloak and Dagger, but I don't know that that's a bad thing. I think it's kind of nice that we have like a lot of different creative teams taking them on for short little periods, so you can see like different takes on them, and
you don't get the same story over and over. Like,
right.
Oh, guess what? Dagger's getting her power sapped, and now Cloak has to come to her rescue, having the same thing over and over. But it's got to be hard to write villains for them, because as a dynamic duo, duo saved you. Sorry. Anyway, sometimes my brain just goes into.
We should just not say where the references are from and just make people figure it out.
What was that a reference?
Duo
just weird.
Saved you.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so as I was maybe going to say, except the gray matter brain fog dude came after me, and now I can't.
I got too close to sin, and
Final Fantasy X. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to spoil it. No, but like writing villains for them. So as a dynamic duo, that's off track. They bring both sides of the equation, right? You have somebody who can fire projectile weapons. You have somebody who can use light energy to dispel whatever, negativity is going on. And then you have the dark character who can teleport people places. He can envelop them, and he can take care of projectiles.
Yeah.
So it's like if they work well together, he'll absorb the projectiles, she'll throw projectiles, they'll get close and he'll zap them to another dimension from Dragon Ball Z. And then, how do you defeat them, or how do you come up with a way to fight these characters without it being formulaic? Like, again, one of them's getting their power sapped and it interrupts the perfect formula of the dynamic duo, and so now they have to snap out of it in the last second and save each other. And you hear that story over and over again, it would get old. So I
think a lot more of the peril in their books could come from them trying to protect innocent lives and not maybe not necessarily threats to their person. Right. Personally, I mean, you can do that, but you don't have to do it every time. It can be again, it was good that they had kind of like a murder mystery going on where they're like, well, who's killing these people? And they have to figure that out before they can do anything about it, basically. Right. And that's, well, like Batman as well. It's like half of his work is just figuring out which one of the insane people with a doctorate in my town is doing this time. Because they all have doctorates for some reason.
Which we forgot to mention Dr. Jonathan Crane.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's from DC. But apparently we have the Scarecrow in this story.
Yeah, there's a Marvel Scarecrow, too, and he's lame. But he can summon a flock of crows, a murder of crows, to come. Murder. Yeah. I saw, it was such a bad joke. It said, take a movie title and depluralize it. And somebody said, a crow on the Orient Express. I was like, that's such a bad joke. But yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I think you can write them. I think it's good that we don't get too much of them in a way, because I kind of like them just popping up unexpectedly here and there and going, oh, cool. Like, what have they been up to? Like, what are they doing?
But not every time you see them, it's like, oh, well, they would be able to contribute to this story, except they're fighting with each other.
Right.
So it's disrupted their powers and they're unable to contribute. Like, again, the things that seem like you would have to do with these characters would get old very fast.
Yeah.
And even being around from the 80s, they're not from the 50s or 60s.
Sure.
Earlier, but that's at least enough time that, the characters could get stale. So, again, it's like that writing thing of how do you keep it interesting without, totally rewriting their history, but also, kind of taking a new take on it. And I really felt like they missed a huge opportunity by not making this brain fog guy actually interjecting himself. So it's not actually a retcon.
Yeah.
It's a retcon, but it's not. Like, I thought that would have been a really great angle to lean into, to say, what you thought about Cloak and Dagger's history is not entirely correct. And maybe Gray actually pushed them to, like, well, sometimes you have to kill people. Sometimes that's the answer. And that's what, pushed them down the wrong path. And then they realized that wasn't, who they wanted to be. But then find out that, well, actually, that didn't happen at all,
Right. Just
like some more mind games would have been.
It would have been cool. He definitely was a villain with a lot of potential. So I would have liked to have seen more done with him. It's a shame that I don't think he has any more appearances since. So nobody's done anything with him that I know of. That's true.
And then he erased everybody's memories or something.
Maybe he actually is Dennis Hopeless. We don't know.
Maybe that would explain his pen name?
Maybe we didn't even read this story. It's all in our brain fog.
We don't really have this podcast. What are we doing?
Just sitting in a room staring at nothing instead of a camera. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have a whole lot else to add. There are characters that I would like to have a really good like Netflix series of. I think that would have been the way to go, as opposed to putting it on Freeform, where again we're trying to hit like kind of the CW audience or whatever. And like I remember that show being good, but I also remember being like, when are they gonna become like the Cloak and Dagger? And it just like took too long for them to get to the part where they were using their powers and like doing the things that their characters do.
I think that's a TV show thing that they do when they don't want to spend the effects budget.
Right.
And they really want to milk it to, where you don't like keep you engaged with the show and do as much as they can before they have to start spending the money. I mean, but even the Daredevil series on Netflix, like that first season, you see him in the like blindfold a whole lot, or thing until he gets his suit. But at least he's still doing the thing the character does. Right. But it doesn't require any CGI or really anything expensive for them to do. So it was easier to show him ahead of time. Whereas when you start doing things like, or characters like Superman or The Flash or Dagger, now you've got some effects that you need to put in there, and it starts to get, expensive more quickly. And
Daredevil is definitely a cheaper character to portray on screen than Cloak and Dagger would be. But I do like seeing them take down like just street level criminals, and kind of I like them existing in that space, and I definitely think it would be cool to give them a series where they're more, they're already kind of established or something like that, and then maybe we do a flashback to their origin, and then they kind of just run from there. My memory of the Freeform show is that they had Tandy, she was like a thief, and like a bad student, and then Tyrone was like a great student, and they were really playing into like the yin yang, like, ooh, they're opposites, but they're gonna have to come together thing, and there was a lot of that, which was interesting, but it's not quite like the core of the characters there. So
well, and they were really banking on the drama of their lives and all this stuff to be kind of the main thing about the story, rather than the superhero angle for a while. So, and then they kind of get into it more so because they're kids with good hearts and they want eventually to work out, and they have to push through the trauma in their lives to realize that they want to do good in this world. It's kind of like cheesy type message. So it ended up being like entertaining, but it wasn't like,
it was fine. It wasn't like offensively bad. It just didn't super excite me either, I guess.
Well, there's this big tie to Roxanne, because that's kind of what they were doing. Roxanne was the reason behind pretty much everything happening in those days, so they were using them in a lot of the different shows. But
I'd forgotten about that.
All right. Well, again, brain fog. See, anytime you forget something, you're going to think about this story with Cloak and Dagger and Gray, because you never know if Gray is watching. When you go to your refrigerator to grab something out of it and you forget what it was that you were going to get out of the refrigerator, it could be Gray. It could be because of this comic. Maybe you're in a comic book and you don't know it.
Or you could get that thing from the refrigerator and think it was delicious, but actually it was spoiled. And then you'll get sick.
That's no fun. Who wants that?
Yeah, what you said was a lot more entertaining than what I said.
Gray has nothing better to do than like stomach aches.
Right.
And then I'm going to drain your life force after
what if he's What if he's a super villain that's just like a mild annoyance, but he's not evil? He just comes in and like makes people trip or something, and then he walks away
and then he disappears. All right, well, this has been a fun after show, kind of one of the short ones, but I think we had a good time, and that's really what's important. Oh, and that you enjoyed watching us too. So make sure you watch all of our other stuff and like, comment, subscribe, rate. What other keywords are there to say? Just
click the notification bell.
Admiration, and donate to us on PayPal.
5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Exactly. Yes. Go on to Spotify and give us 5 stars.
That's right.
Write a rating and say that we are the best podcast ever.
And there's always a little survey that comes up. If I don't put something in when I upload the episode, it'll say, "What did you think of this episode?" And no one ever says anything. Oh. So I can only assume that you love everything that we're doing, and we're doing it just perfectly.
Exactly. Yes. And if you don't, well, Gray Matter, trademark pending, will come and get you.
Exactly.
Oh, like our Buffy episode where we were like...
He has sharp teeth. I don't know why.
His jaw was like elongated.
It would unhinge, yeah. Like the vampires in Blade Trinity, kind of.
But was that just like a trick of the imagination, or did he actually look that way?
I don't know.
And what was with the weird like lines when they looked like corpses? There was like their face.
I don't know. Yeah, it was like.
I have so many questions.
I know. Well, Dennis Hopeless. Get in the comments.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, thanks for listening and watching, and we'll get you later.
Catch you later.
Dementor!
Live long and prosper.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter? Harry Potter must not go to Hogwarts.
Is it whinging?
That's enough we are in trouble.
Turn this on.
We like
comics.
because they have no